whereas Marxism, Leninism viewed itself as a worldwide, workers of the world unite, according to Marx's statement. And that's part of the reason why, Marxism had and still has a worldwide appeal. The Catholics, have the doctrine of the infallibility of the Pope. Well, do you have any idea how often the Pope has spoken infallibly? Give me a guess.
Probably not very often.
People
probably take issue with what he says often. Like J.D. Vance, for example. I heard J.D. Vance calling him out the other day.
You're absolutely correct. The doctrine of papal infallibility was actually proclaimed in I think 1870. It's been applied once since, and once slightly earlier was kind of put under that category.
Yeah.
The Immaculate Conception of Mary and the Assumption of Mary into heaven. Okay, two cases. What the Pope says is, Catholics think it's important, they listen, but the Pope has hardly ever spoken in a way. And furthermore, there are limits. Pope just can't say anything. For example, let us say that the Pope decided tomorrow that instead of the Trinity, we had the Quaternity, 4 people, and Donald Trump was the 4th person. Well, even if the Pope said that, it's not consistent with Catholic doctrine. There's a higher standard than simply the Pope's view. So, religions have a kind of check. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're Nazis or the East Germans, there's no check. The Führer is always right. Marxist, So anyway, both of them had worldviews that tried to encompass every area of life. There were some differences, and both of them had very elaborate propaganda systems that went down to the neighborhood level. I mean, the party in both situations went down really to your next door neighbor. There was, somebody who was responsible for keeping an eye on you to the party. Lots of that kind of thing was there. They both controlled the media. They both tried to coordinate everything to be consistent with their policies and so forth. I mean, there were some differences. Nazism, for example, sometimes said National Socialism is not for export. In other words, it was specific to Germany.
Gotcha.
For German conditions. Whereas Marxism, Leninism viewed itself as a worldwide, workers of the world unite, according to Marx's statement. And that's part of the reason why, Marxism had and still has a worldwide appeal. Claims not to be nationally bound, but worldwide. And so that was a difference in the kind of propaganda appeals that the two systems made. And I could go on, but again, problem with asking the professor a question is we tend to talk for our 50-minute lecture period. So
I am curious if you think globalism, or just being interconnected through the internet, through supply chains, will help prevent a decline in the way that we have seen historically. And I guess I will throw that question at you first.
No, I don't think it will, because, the people who benefit from globalism are different from the people who are great proponents of the various right-wing movements around the world, okay? If you're prosperous, if your business is going well, you like globalism. If, on the other hand, your job is gone because of cheap Chinese imports or any of the other various reasons, okay? If you have a feeling that this mysterious cabal of international globalists is out to ruin your life, enrich themselves at your expense, you're not going to be very enthused. And of course, it's a kind of multinationalism which goes against the current trend for America first, or the German equivalent was Germany over everything, which, by the way, didn't mean Germany taking over the world, but Germany was first in your list of priorities, kind of the America first of the period. And so I think it's a case in which, again, you've got the people who benefit from globalism and the people who don't. And the people who don't are the ones who are up in arms because they feel, with some justice in some cases, that they're being disadvantaged. So I don't think that's not going to help us at all.
Yeah. Okay, so following this, as ideas and information flows both in the US and out of the US, I guess I'm curious on your perspective if you think that Trumpism, for lack of a better term, is going to be a national export, or if you think it will be more of a domestic product.
Oh, it's clearly, there's two different things involved. First, there is a wide international trend toward that kind of leadership. You've got Putin in Russia, you've got Orban in, Hungary. There's a whole range of kind of these tin pot dictators, which is not quite accurate, but it's close. But in the meantime, Trump is having a clear effect. I'm in Australia at the moment, and the Australian press is, full of the influence that Trump is having on Australian politics, and the same is true around the rest of the world. So there's no doubt that this is a developing and certainly continuing worldwide kind of phenomenon, and Trump is exacerbating it to a substantial effect, mainly because of the influence of the US.
Okay, that is a good moving point to another question that I had, which is, let me give some context first. So I like to study information environment, interactions, information warfare, these types of things. And one anecdote that I've kind of come across in my research was this.